They want to call tonight, and what they will say changes everything, because psychology shows that nighttime is not just silence, it is the moment when emotional defenses fall, when the mind stops distracting itself and the heart finally speaks honestly. And if you are watching this right now, stay till the end, because by the time this video finishes, you will understand exactly why some people suddenly feel the urge to hear your voice at night, why that call is never random, and what their words actually mean beneath the surface. Because during the day, the brain is busy performing roles, protecting ego, maintaining distance. But at night, the subconscious becomes louder, unresolved emotions rise, and suppressed feelings start demanding expression. This is why psychology explains that late-night calls are often driven by emotional overflow rather than logical intent. The person calling has already thought about you for hours, replayed conversations, imagined responses, and resisted reaching out until resistance became heavier than fear. And this internal struggle is important because it shows that you are not a casual thought, you are an emotional anchor, someone associated with safety, familiarity, or unfinished emotional business. And when they finally decide to call, it is not because they are bored, it is because their nervous system is seeking regulation. Your presence, even through a voice, signals comfort to their brain. Research on attachment psychology explains that humans subconsciously seek attachment figures when emotional vulnerability peaks, and night amplifies vulnerability, which is why their tone might sound softer, slower, or more sincere. And if they say something simple like, "I just wanted to talk," or "I don't know why I called," psychology says this is emotional masking, because the real reason is harder to admit. They want reassurance, connection, or emotional clarity, and if they mention memories, old jokes, or shared moments, that is their mind trying to reconnect emotionally without risking rejection. Nostalgia in psychology is not about the past, it is about emotional safety, and when someone feels emotionally unsafe in the present, they revisit places or people that once made them feel grounded. And this is where many people misunderstand these calls. They think it means commitment or romance automatically. But psychology teaches nuance. Sometimes the call means attachment activation, sometimes emotional dependency, sometimes unresolved closure, and sometimes a genuine desire to reconnect on a deeper level, which is why what they say matters more than the call itself. If they ask about your life, your feelings, your well-being, it indicates emotional investment. But if they talk mostly about themselves, their stress, their loneliness, psychology calls this emotional offloading. They are using your emotional presence as a regulator, not necessarily offering the same in return. And this distinction is crucial because understanding it protects you from misinterpretation. Another powerful psychological layer here is timing. People rarely call late at night when they are emotionally stable. They call when defenses are low, when thoughts get louder, and when distractions disappear. This is why night conversations feel deeper, more intimate. Even if the words are simple, the emotional weight behind them is heavier, and if they hesitate, pause, or struggle to find words, psychology explains this as cognitive dissonance. They want closeness, but fear vulnerability, and this tension often leads to indirect communication, jokes hiding seriousness, silence hiding meaning, and casual tones hiding emotional risk. And if during the call they suddenly ask questions like, "Do you ever think about me?" or "Do you remember when?" These are not random. These are emotional probes, subtle ways to measure whether the emotional door is still open. And if they say something emotional and then quickly change the topic, psychology says they are self-regulating, pulling back after revealing too much, because vulnerability feels unsafe without guaranteed acceptance. And this is why listening matters more than responding. Your calm presence, your pacing, your tone can either make them feel safe enough to open up or push them back into emotional withdrawal. And here is something most people do not realize. Psychology explains that the brain associates voices with emotional memory more strongly than text. Hearing your voice activates stored emotional experiences, which is why a call feels more intense than a message. And if they call instead of texting, It means they are seeking emotional resonance, not just information. And this is why some people feel closer after one night call than weeks of texting, because emotional bonding accelerates when auditory connection is involved. But here is the turning point. What changes everything is not the call, it is the content. If they express clarity, honesty, accountability, psychology indicates emotional readiness. But if they remain vague, inconsistent, or emotionally circular, it suggests unresolved inner conflict, not necessarily intention to move forward. And understanding this saves you from projecting meanings that are not there. Another important psychology fact is that night calls often occur during emotional transitions, breakups, personal stress, identity shifts, moments when the brain is reorganizing emotional priorities, and during these phases, people instinctively reach toward emotional constants, people who represent familiarity or emotional grounding. And this is why you might receive a call, even after silence, distance, or emotional confusion, because your presence still holds emotional weight in their nervous system. And if you're wondering whether this means they miss you, psychology says missing someone is not just longing, it is the inability to emotionally replace their role, and a night call often signals that replacement has failed. And here is where your awareness matters. Psychology is not about guessing intentions, it is about observing patterns. If calls happen repeatedly at night but disappear during the day, it suggests emotional dependence without integration into real life. But if communication extends into consistency, effort, and emotional responsibility, it suggests genuine reconnection. And this is why staying emotionally grounded during such calls is power, not reacting impulsively, not over-investing prematurely, and not emotionally over-interpreting words without behavioral alignment. And if during the call they say something that feels unfinished, something heavy but incomplete, psychology explains that they are testing emotional safety, and your response sets the emotional tone moving forward. Calm curiosity invites honesty, pressure invites withdrawal, and silence invites projection. And if you feel emotionally stirred after the call, that is natural. Night conversations bypass logic and go straight to emotional memory, but awareness protects you from confusion, because the goal is not to decode them, it is to understand the emotional dynamic at play. And the most important psychology truth here is this: people reveal their emotional state, not their future plans, during vulnerable moments. And a night call is a snapshot of emotional need, not always a promise of action. And when you understand this, you stop waiting for meaning and start observing alignment. And that is emotional intelligence. And if you have ever felt that a single call changed your emotional state, psychology confirms it, because emotional connection reshapes perception, and perception reshapes attachment. And this is why such calls feel powerful. But power lies in understanding, not assumption. So if they call tonight, listen carefully, not just to words, but to consistency, emotional responsibility, and follow through. Because psychology says real intentions reveal themselves over time, not in moments of vulnerability. And now that you understand this, you are no longer confused by late-night calls. You are aware, grounded, and emotionally intelligent, and that awareness is what truly changes everything. And here is what psychology wants you to notice next. Because not every late-night call is about love, but every late-night call is about emotional exposure, when the brain is no longer protected by daytime logic, and the heart speaks in fragments instead of full sentences. And if during that call they seem emotionally present but unclear, it means they are emotionally aware but not yet emotionally decisive. Psychology explains that awareness always comes before action, and many people reach out at night because they are standing at the edge of an emotional realization they are not ready to fully step into, which is why their words may feel meaningful yet incomplete. And this is where most people get confused, because they mistake emotional honesty for emotional commitment. But psychology draws a clear line between the two. Honesty is a moment, commitment is a pattern. And if they end the call with emotional warmth but no direction, it means they felt safe in the moment, not certain about the future. and this distinction protects you from false hope. Another important psychological signal is how they leave the conversation. If they rush off suddenly after opening up, it suggests emotional overwhelm, their nervous system reached its limit. But if they slow down, linger, or hesitate before hanging up, it shows emotional attachment strengthening in real time. Because detachment leaves quickly, attachment delays endings, and if after the call you notice a shift in energy, either closeness or distance, psychology says that is integration happening. Emotions revealed at night must be processed in daylight, and behavior after the call always reveals more truth than the call itself, and that awareness is what truly keeps you in control.